Hello and welcome into the Bengals Football Talk Show. I hope you all are doing well wherever you may be, and I hope everyone you know around you is doing well, especially in these hard times. It may seem like the world is ending with this virus, and in addition, with the Cincinnati Bengals actually signing some free agents. Mike Brown opened up his checkbook. He got some guys to come in and really improve this football team. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some of those moves he's made since the last show. And we're also going to look forward to the draft with another mock draft. But first off, we have a big announcement for the show. The Bengals Football Talk Show will now be available as a podcast in addition to a YouTube video. So that means if you don't want to see the still pictures, or if you would rather listen on the go, maybe in your car or while working out, doing other mindless tasks, while you can think about how great our Bengals are doing this offseason, you can tune in and listen to the show on a podcast. And it would really help the show out. So if that seems interesting to you, please go give it a listen on the podcast. Now, it appears the final domino has fallen in the Bengals cornerback room as the Bengals terminated the contract of Dre Kirkpatrick. This move saves around $8 million in cap space that the Bengals definitely need after splurging in free agency for the first time in a long time. With Kirkpatrick gone, the cornerback picture for the Bengals has gotten a little clearer, as it appears William Jackson and Trey Waynes will be the likely starters on the outside, with Mackenzie Alexander in the slot starting for the Bengals. Now, Darius Phillips presumably will make the roster this season after his breakout campaign at the end of 2019. And the Bengals recently signed LaShawn Sims from the Tennessee Titans. He will likely make the team and provide depth as well. Behind them, Winston Rose, Tony McTyer, Tony Brown, and Greg Maben will compete for spots at the back of the cornerback roster for the Bengals. Now, I wouldn't say this completely eliminates the possibility of selecting a cornerback in the upcoming NFL draft, especially since Mackenzie Alexander is here only on a one-year deal. You could look for a slot corner in this year's draft in the later rounds, as for some reason the slot corner position is devalued by many NFL teams, even though it is a very crucial position for a defense. Of course, the Bengals may be looking for Darius Phillips to step up by next season to start in that slot role. Also, with William Jackson in the final year of his deal, drafting a cornerback could provide some insurance for next season. That is, it appears it will be a need in the very near future. Now, moving on to some players the Bengals signed since the last show. The first one is linebacker Josh Bynes, who spent part of last year with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Bynes will be 31 this upcoming season for the Bengals, but he has been a very, very solid player, and he was a very solid player for the Ravens last year. He's a very good at defending the run, a very stout run defender. He actually graded out with PFF at a 76.2 and 75.3 overall in 2019 and 2018 respectively. Now, the Ravens definitely hid his problems with coverage. They made sure he was only in rushing situations and really made sure he wasn't getting exposed in pass coverage, as that is certainly not his strong suit. And if this is something the Bengals are looking to do, is stopping the run, if they can make sure they don't get Bynes exposed in the passing game, this could be a really big pickup for a Cincinnati football team that is looking to improve their defense heavily and stop Lamar Jackson. The second signing is Von Bell, a safety from the New Orleans Saints. He's coming on a 3-year, $18 million deal. And He is just not a safety. He can actually come up and play linebacker as well, something he did a lot with the Saints. He's a very variable player, and he can do a lot of things on defense. Now, his strongest suit is not pass coverage. It is, in fact, stopping the run, something that seems was the Bengals' main priority for this offseason. They wanted to be able to stop Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt, and James Conner, and give themselves a chance in the AFC North this season. Now, this leaves some questions about what will happen with safety Sean Williams. Will he slide into another role, as he did play a lot of linebacker for the Bengals this past season? Or could he be off the team entirely? And I see both of these as a very real possibility. The Bengals could look to move on from Williams and potentially maybe draft a player who can play well in coverage. But Sean Williams has been proven to be one of the better strong safeties in coverage throughout his career. And he's really just struggled when he's been asked to come up and play in the box as a linebacker. I think maybe moving him back to more of a coverage strong safety could really help Williams succeed in this upcoming season. I think, especially with him being a captain last year, I think he's going to be back. But I would never say never. Now, looking forward towards the draft, there's been a lot of news swirling about maybe the draft being moved, but the NFL and Roger Goodell put that to a rest, stating that the draft will happen here at the end of April no matter what. It'll be a studio-only telecast, and it seems they're going to be video conferencing with some of the top draft picks, so we'll likely see Joe Burrow from his Athens home being interviewed as he's selected with the number 1 overall pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, hopefully. I just can't see it going down any other way, but I just don't want to celebrate until his name is actually called, because I know the Bengals could end up messing this up somehow. After these signings the Bengals have made in free agency, what is going to happen at pick 33 is starting to come into focus. It appears that the Bengals are going to be able to pick the best player available on their board, as they're not pigeonholed themselves into picking for need at linebacker or on defense for that matter. This means they could look to improve the offensive line, maybe improve over Bobby Hart or Suafilo, or maybe they can go and look for AJ's replacement at wide receiver, or maybe John Ross's replacement at wide receiver. Really improve one of the premier, most important positions on a football team, and really help out Joe Burrow in the process. Well, that's about it for the news. Let's get into our mock draft. Okay, let's get started with our second mock draft here at Bengals Football Talk. We're once again using the Draft Network's mock draft machine, and we're going to be once again selecting Joe Burrow with our first overall selection. Just as an aside, if you are watching this, or listening to this rather, on a podcast, you can come and watch us on YouTube and see what I am seeing, see who's available on the board, and tell me who you might have selected here, for example, with the 33rd pick or with any of the other picks. We're going to do just 5 rounds today, and this second round pick is going to be a great one to talk about because a lot of prospects have fallen down here to 33. And just to start, 2 main linebackers, Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen, have both fallen to 33. I think the Bengals would likely select their favorite one of those two in this situation. Looks like a guy like Cole Kmet went in the first round. That's just not going to happen in real life. Some running backs likely went in the first round. That's just not going to happen. I think the teams are finally realizing that running backs are not important. I don't want to seem rude, but the data has shown that running backs are not as impactful as receivers and cornerbacks. Speaking of receivers, Jalen Rager, Laviska Shenault, two guys here I would consider a 33. I really like Rager. I really like Shenault. I think Rager is more of a receiver. Shenault is a very dense. He's more of a runner, to be honest. You would have to be able to scheme the ball into his hands. You can still scheme the ball into Rager's hands. They're both very shifty, quick guys. I think Rager's a little faster, though. Shenault's a little bigger. I would personally go Rager for the Bengals. I don't think Shenault really fits the team's need right now. He seems more of like a piece that you would add to the end, a cherry on top, maybe. I think he could fit really well with maybe a team like the Niners. But, of course, a receiver like Denzel Mims would be a dream here at 33. He's a big, he would be a number one receiver. He could come in and replace A.J. Green. Not that Rager can't replace A.J. Green. I would prefer Mims, though. He's a little bit higher, I believe, on my board. Actually, I don't know. I think I might have Rager higher. I really like Rager. Now, offensive line also could be an option here. Cesar Ruiz, who just went before us with the 32nd pick. He is a center from Michigan, though I think he can play guard for us if he needs to. He would be a very good option. He's a very, very good. He's the best interior lineman in this class, in my opinion. Now, another dream scenario, I'm going to be honest, would be that Josh Jones, the tackle from Houston, falls to 33. He was the number one graded tackle in college, I believe, from Pro Football Focus out of Houston. So he very, very well could be a pick here. And for me, it's between Rager and Jones, to be honest. I'm of the opinion linebackers aren't as important right here. I believe the Bengals would pick between Murray and Queen. But I think they may end up considering Jones here, though. I think they've shown with what they've done at linebacker. They only have Pratt and Bynes on the roster and Evans, but they only have those three as NFL caliber players on the roster. Brady Shelton, more of a practice squad, roster bubble guy who will probably not make an NFL team. But I think they're showing that they realize linebacker is not as important. So I think I could very well could see them going Josh Jones here, and I think that's what I'm going to do here. Josh Jones is my pick. Rager goes right away. See, Rager is a really good football player, but I think you can get some good receivers here later. There were so many good options there that I would have liked to see the Bengals trade back. Now you may not get your first option. I probably would rather see him take Josh Jones. You want to get that player. If you trade back, somebody's probably going up to get Josh Jones, as he's the last first round tackle available. So as we're back up here on the clock at 65, you can look at receiver. You can look at linebacker for sure. I think if they don't take a linebacker in the first round, they'll likely look at linebacker here as their next pick. I believe with all the compensatories, it's in the hundreds. So you're really going to miss out on this good crop of linebackers here. Willie Gay, Davis Gaither, Logan Wilson, Troy Dye's another guy. Jordan Brooks is more of a middle linebacker, run-stopping hole filler. So I don't think he's really something the Bengals are looking for. They need someone who can cover, who can run in space. A guy like Willie Gay Jr. Or Akeem Davis Gaither. I think if they don't go linebacker, those are two guys they would really consider right there. Now, of course, Brandon Ayuk is a really attractive option to me here. He's a deep threat. He can make people miss with the ball in his hands. He was a returner at Arizona State as well as a receiver. So I think here you kind of force yourself to pick a linebacker. It is a need. You didn't completely fill the need in free agency. I mean, I think they would have to take a linebacker here. Between Willie Gay Jr. and Akeem Davis Gaither, I think I would go Gay Jr. He had some off the field issues, but I think the Bengals have shown that's something that they're not really afraid of. A guy I want to mention there who just went off the board, Robert Hunt out of Louisiana. He's a guy I've taken a lot in the third round there, especially if I go linebacker or receiver and I don't go O-line in the second round. And look, we had Troy Dye to fall to us, so maybe we should have gone receiver. No. But what was I saying about Robert Hunt? I'm sorry. Robert Hunt, a guard from Louisiana. He's a guy who's been taking a lot in the third round. He played right tackle at Louisiana, but he projects to slide inside. Probably be a guard. He could be a day one starter for the Bengals, something that they really need at the offensive line, in my opinion. So as we move here to the fourth round, Troy Dye is available. Likely not going to go linebacker again. Receiver value isn't really there, although someone who I think is going to go here, but I believe the Draft Network has much further down right here, Devin Duvernay. I think he could go late third, early fourth. He ran really quick at the combine, of 4.39. He's a really good route runner from Texas. He's a guy I'm considering right here. I know he's down on the board, but they're a little low on him. He's gonna go around here. Antonio Gibson is another guy. He's more of a running back, but he's also a receiver. He could be that gadget type player, kind of like Laviska Shenault. He could be a really interesting option. And now as you're getting later here in the draft, fourth, fifth round, he's someone that you're more comfortable with taking here. Shenault in the second round, he's a good player. He's a better version of Antonio Gibson for sure. But the Bengals need a more traditional number one receiver at 33, in my opinion. Another guy I would consider here, a cornerback, Amik Robertson. With Mackenzie Alexander only on a one-year deal, I think Amik could step up and play slot cornerback starting next year. He's undersized, and that's why he's available here. He's a really, really talented cornerback. Look right there, 14 interceptions and 34 pass breakups. That's elite production for sure. But as for the pick right here, I think the Bengals should attack receiver, and I would take Devin Duvernay out of Texas right here in the fourth round. He as I said, he's fast. He runs great routes. He would be a steal here in the fourth round, in my opinion. So as we're getting to our final pick of this mock draft here in the fifth round, this is what the draft's looking like so far. Burrow, Josh Jones, Willie Gay Jr., Devin Duvernay. I'm liking how that's going. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, Jason Strobridge is a guy that they coached at the Combine. He's out of North Carolina, but they seem to have shored up the interior D-line. They're looking for a 3 technique to rotate a little more with Geno, but I think they're comfortable with what they got on the roster. They have more pressing places they could spend some draft capital, like the offensive line. So let's look at the offensive line here. John Simpson is the top interior O-lineman. And at tackle, Terrence Steele, Jack Driscoll. Jack Driscoll's a guy I feel like is very underrated. He played right tackle at Auburn. I'm pretty sure he could be a pick here. I think he might end up going before this. But he'll probably go around here. Normally these draft machines are pretty accurate for the most part. Sometimes they have guys a little low or a little high. A guy who I really liked after the Combine, he did really well at the Combine, Darrington Evans, a running back out of Appalachian State. Now you're getting to the fifth round. This is somewhere where you take a running back. Maybe the Bengals consider running back. It looks like they're putting themselves in a position to extend Joe Mixon. This is not the best decision mathematically for the team. Running back is not a valuable position where you want to spend money, but the team really likes Joe Mixon. I personally really like Joe Mixon, and maybe you do pay him a little bit more to keep him around than you probably should. But it seems like the running back market is coming down. Maybe something Mixon's not happy about, but you could bring him back into the fold. But back to the draft. I personally would really attack the offensive line in this draft. It needs improvement. And whether that's a guy like John Simpson, I personally like a guy like Driscoll a little bit more. You don't want to go over tackles, though. But I'm going to take it anyway. You could see maybe that 33 pick is not Josh Jones per se. Maybe it's Cesar Ruiz. You feel more comfortable taking a tackle like Jack Driscoll here. Maybe Jack Driscoll can slide inside and play guard, though. I'm not a coach. I don't always know these kind of things. I'm still learning. I'm going to be honest, but I'm very passionate and I want to continue to improve. So let's look at what we've done here in the draft so far. We took Joe Burrow from LSU, of course, with the first pick. Josh Jones, a tackle out of Houston. He's a first round tackle. I would expect for him to go in the first round, but he could fall to 33. He's one of the guys that could fall to 33, and this would be a dream scenario for the Bengals if he did fall there. I think they would gobble him right up. Now at 65, we took Willie Gay Jr. Reached down the board a little bit at linebacker, but I think Willie Gay could be a really good linebacker. Very athletic player. The Bengals do have a need at linebacker. They kind of need to fill at some point in this draft. With our fourth round pick, we took Devin Duvernay, a receiver out of Texas. He's a slot receiver, which we do already have Tyler Boyd to play the slot, but I think the value there was too good to pass up. And you can find room for multiple slot receivers in the offense. If you have multiple good slot receivers, you can find room for them. You build your team around your player strengths, your scheme around your player strengths. And if you bring in Duvernay, if he's the best option at right receiver, you build your scheme around that. And finally, with our 147th pick, we took Jack Driscoll, the tackle out of Auburn. He's a sleeper lineman, someone Pro Football Focus really likes. I really like the data. I really use that to back up some of my decisions. So if Pro Football Focus likes him, I'm going to look into him as well. I think he could be a late round sleeper, as they're saying. Well, that's going to be it for this mock and for today's episode of Bengals Football Talk. If you enjoyed the episode and you're on YouTube, please consider liking and subscribing. It would really help me and the show out. And if you're listening on podcasts, I'm not sure how subscriptions or whatever, or how it works on a podcast, but please consider doing whatever subscribing is, whatever the equivalent to that is for the podcast, as it would really, really give us a help. Thank you. Till next time, Hoo Day, go Bengals. See ya.